say, "Oh, Pop, I don't know about all that." But let's keep it real, brother. We saw the NBA in the 80s when everybody would, when you have a moment, and somebody gets out of line, somebody's gonna throw a punch, somebody's gonna get into it, and you know what? Ain't nobody really running over here to break it up like that. Let them get it out their system, and we'll move on. You know what I mean? We'll move on. But now we got it to where you just go ahead and breathe on a guy. You just go walk towards a guy. It's a problem. It's an issue. It's gonna get you kicked out the game. Come on, Giannis the other night, he dunks on a guy, he stares him down, they kicked him out the game. What I'm trying to get people to understand is I would love for them to just go ahead and have a moment to where they can have a battle royale, because these games get physical, they get nasty, they get to a point to where it's like, come on, man, you got to cut the shit. But it's a professional sport, and fighting isn't involved in the sport like that. It's not hockey. So how's it going to make the game be better if they can sit back and, have a tussle, a scrap, a fight, something of that nature? What it does is it holds the game up. And I truly do feel that last night was not even close to a scuffle that we've seen coming up in the 80s and 90s. That was like almost like a heat check damn near. And I truly feel that last night, the only reason why people got ejected was because the way Draymond Green approached the situation. If he doesn't put Rudy Gobert in a chokehold and drag him across the court, then I just think that all it is a double technical, and we move forward from there. And Klay Thompson and McDaniels don't get kicked out the game, even though it was a testy, hot moment and everything like that. It really didn't warrant kicking no guys out the game. I know he ripped Klay's jersey and all that good stuff, but you know what? It was just okay. I'm trying to lock up. You're trying to lock up. We're in each other's face, and it happens. But I truly feel that the Wolves have sent a message to the Warriors, and the Warriors feel like that they did what teams do when they know they can't beat you. So then they're going to go to the other angle. Let's fight these motherfuckers. And what happened is that once again, they were the ones that wind up losing in the end. So they lose back-to-back games because Draymond Green could not control his temper. He couldn't control his emotions. First night around, he thought he tried to challenge Ant. Ant went ahead and mamba'd his ass. And then he comes back around and sees his boy getting in a situation. Then he has to go play the enforcer. So I truly feel that a lot of people have to stop thinking that this has to be a sport to where they got to just duke it out all the time. People do not understand how much money was lost when they did the Malice in the Palace. People don't understand that they were about to pull the NBA off of TV when they had the Malice in the Palace. People don't understand there was 100 lawsuits to the NBA's office. Lawsuits, Jeff, for the Malice in the Palace. But everybody still wants everybody to scrap and have these big ass moments and things like that. Now Draymond's about to miss about 7 or 8 games minimum because he's a repeat offender. They're already putting it together. If he misses 8 games, that's actually them being nice. It looks like this is a 10 to 15 game suspension. He's taking a month off, regardless of anything, just for a little ass chokehold. And you know what? At the end of the day, I just truly feel that the NBA is trying its best to just have these guys play ball. They're not worried about y'all being UFC or boxers. If you want to do all that, sign up for that. But Jeff, what are your 2 cents before we move forward on this? Jeff got that look like I don't even want to get into it because I didn't watch it.
No, for all your watchers, listeners, that when you were talking about the 80s when we grew up, and most of you guys probably didn't see this, just Google Kevin McHale and Kurt Rambis clothesline, and you'll see what we're talking about, how basketball was played back in the 80s and the 90s. And this generation here, the Gen Zs, the millennials, and this style of basketball, I'm going to probably go on record here, Pops, and say at least 40% of these guys in the NBA wouldn't have lasted 2 years right now with this type of style. And you talk about someone like Draymond, he has a reputation. I can talk about the Bruins and Brad Marchand. The same thing. Once you do something where if it was someone with no prior convictions, I'll use as a word there, they'll get a slap on the wrist. He was trying to, slow the process down. He didn't want it to escalate. As soon as Draymond jumps in, you just don't know what's going to happen. The tweet that I talked about backstage, uh, uh, Draymond came in with an attitude because Steph wasn't playing, therefore he didn't want to play, and he was trying to set the tone and get ejected. So I think it'll be at least 10 games. Did I see it live? No. Of course, it was all over the internet and social media. Of course, I did see it. Back in the day, they would have just, rolled the ball out in 5 minutes. They would have broken up and said, all right, let's play ball. And they would have played a great, 48 minutes of basketball. Nowadays, as you said, 15, 20 minutes. And there's going to be some harsh penalties, some fines. But in the end, Draymond's stuck in the middle with that reputation. And he's a marked man. And he's going to probably be looking at, I would say, at least 10 games, Pops.
Right. And you know what? I'm just going to end it with this. Also, when they had Malice in the Palace, the NBA was hitting a moment in time that really slowed the game down, where it was just overly physical. It was too much. It was just too physical, Jeff. You remember this. They really said, okay, you know what? We're going to make you guys start wearing suits. We're going to make you guys start, cleaning this up a little bit. And year by year, they made more and more rules. And I think by the time your big three got together of Garnett, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett, they were the last group that were able to be physical, like to the point to where, okay, we might have to fight. We might have a melee here, and the Celtics just went overboard with it, I feel, in 2008. And you were there, bro. They had literally every other game was damn near a fight for the Celtics. And come on, the Atlanta series, every night, Zaza, them and Zaza, KG and Zaza, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's what I'm looking at in a sense as well too. Do you think I have somewhat of a point with that when from that moment when the Malice in the Palace happened, the game sped up a little bit more year and year, but it was so slow after the Lakers finished up their three-peat when it became the Pistons Spurs era of basketball. What's your thought on that, real quick?
No, I agree. I mean, people would have turned. There's games in the NBA now that score more points in the first half than the Pistons did back in the 80s and early 90s. It was a race to 80, and go back to some of those Bull Pistons games. Even with Michael back there, it was just ugly, hard fought, physical. If you went into the lane, you knew you were going to get hit, and you're probably going to get hit pretty hard. And so it was buyer beware, basically. That's why you approach the lane very carefully. But I agree with you 100%, Pops.
Yeah, because that's the thing, man. They just had to clean it up because they wanted to have a better game. When they made the rules of, you can be in zone now, you can do this, they said, we don't want no more physical defense. That's exactly what they want to do because Shaq had so many bumps and bruises on him. You didn't know if he played a basketball game or he just got done with a football game. That's how bad it got. You know what I mean? And Shaq is still dealing with a lot of those chronic pains now. You know what I mean? And and Bill Walton can't even walk. So come on, dude. You guys want this physical stuff. You guys want all this, that, and the third. But look how these guys are 30 years later. They wish they could have had the rules that the NBA has today, to where they didn't have to do all this extra stuff. You know what I mean? But all in all, let's go ahead and talk about the fight real quick. I know this is something that's more in my lane. So Navarrete is a guy that fights in a weight class, to me, that's not a money weight class. So